All eyes on CJ Stroud's shoulder, and Ronald Darby retires because I guess he just got older. Let's go inside the locker room.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top two.
We got a retirement, and we got a more speculation about CJ Stroud's shoulder. It is the locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. I am Landry Locker, back from the family vacation, wedding, wonderful event. Appreciate everyone for coming through. We got some OTAs tomorrow. SNL will have you covered. All eyes will be on CJ Stroud's shoulder, though. Will he or won't he be throwing? And sometimes whenever stuff like this happens, there's like and it's the internet, so I get it, and it's the comments and stuff like that. And a lot of times what we do, myself and Cody Stutes, I don't speak for anyone else, is we report, we use our journalistic instincts, education, as well as our credibility covering the team. And whether it's a big deal or not, we just try to present the biggest, most relevant story possible when it comes to the Texans. And the CJ Stroud shoulder thing is it's symbolic of a rule that I will always live by. And there's some people who say, well, there's nothing to see here. It's no big deal. It's May is something that we've heard a lot. Some people say, oh my God, the sky is falling. And I think I side more with the fact that it is something. I don't think the sky is falling because CJ Stroud has kind of shown a little bit of an ability he's shown a good ability to be able to recover and at least play through this pain. So I think you can kind of give him the benefit of the doubt there. But the rule that I will always live by is that any practice that I cover from this point forward, whenever the starting quarterback does not throw for whatever reason, whether big or small, that will be one of the main stories. I mean, that will be one of the main stories is if the starting quarterback doesn't throw, whether it's in May, whether it's in season, whether it's in the playoffs, whether it's in a scrimmage, that will be one of the main stories that we talk about. Now, in season's a little bit different because you'll get clarity. You won't have to speculate. You won't have to wonder. In season is different. Now, some would say, well, in season, you would expect CJ Stroud to be more fresh, more ready to go. Who knows? But what we have is we have a couple of things. Number one, we have a history with the shoulder from CJ Stroud. It's a 3.5-year history of shoulders and shoulder soreness and the ability or the need to play through shoulder surgery. His first game at Ohio State, he separated his AC joint in the season opener against Minnesota, ended up missing one game. And when he returned, he said this, which should make you feel good, assuming that this is true. This was CJ Stroud talking about his ability to heal.
Well, I mean, then on top of that, I mean, God has blessed me with a supernatural healing of my shoulder. So, I mean, my shoulder is feeling a whole lot better. Every day I'm rehabbing it just to make sure nothing else goes wrong. But, I mean, that's kind of been the big thing for me.
All right, so there you go. Supernatural ability to heal. So that was in on September 2nd, 2021. He separates his AC joint in season opener versus Minnesota. October 17, 2023, the first home start against the Colts, appears on the injury report on Friday. Status very much in doubt, even driving up to the stadium, ends up playing behind a depleted offensive line. And actually, I think that was kind of a moment where I thought he actually gained the respect of a lot of his teammates. And this is not hindsight. I actually asked CJ about this, and I think he didn't 100% agree, but I think that this was an excellent, tough display of CJ Stroud. Like, regardless of whether this is big or not, I think most people can agree that CJ Stroud is a tough dude. He is a tough dude, and he has an ability to play through shoulder pain. Let me pull this up. This was me asking CJ if he thought that was one of the moments where he earned the respect of his teammates. Here was CJ Stroud, example 2 of the shoulder pain. You had the hurt shoulder. The offensive line was depleted. And after the game, you came up, you praised your teammates. Do you think that kind of set the tone for just being a leader and establishing yourself as a leader of this team?
I feel like it was a multitude of things, but I definitely think that week we took a step. I think last year, that stuff is done now, so I definitely do think that took a step for our standard and how we're going to run this organization, on the player coach side of things was just kind of the grit that, it wasn't pretty. We definitely, the coach got after us that day, but it definitely set a tone that we weren't going to just shy away. We were going to play all 4 quarters and try to play tough as possible,
And that's something that he's always done. That's something that he deserves a lot of credit for. But then last year you had on Christmas Day, he said he was banged up after the loss to Baltimore. And then this year on the 28th, he doesn't throw in first OTAs, doesn't throw on the second. So whether it's a big deal or not, when the starting quarterback doesn't throw, that's going to be a main story. You can decide whether or not it's a big deal, but it's going to be something that is spoken of. And I do wonder, is this going to be something that if this is what he was talking about last year against Baltimore, let's pretend that when he said that he was banged up, I think it was a question by Sarge. Big Sarge asked him a question, and he said he was banged up. And then real quick, he caught himself and said that was a bad excuse. And when he said that, if he was talking about the shoulder, that was half a year ago. That was almost half a year ago, and we're still monitoring that. So maybe he has this supernatural ability that he said that he had at Ohio State. Maybe there's that. We definitely know that he's tough, and he's going to play through the shoulder issues. The question is, like, as we move forward, is it something that lingers throughout the season? Is it something that lingers throughout his career? And as he gets older and these supernatural skills kind of deteriorate, or your athletic gifts kind of decrease, is it something that's going to be a big problem later on in the season? I think it would be reckless to not at least acknowledge these clues that are being laid out over a relatively long time, whether you think it's a big deal or not. So we'll check it out. We'll see what happens with CJ Stroud, but it's always going to be a story of some way. It's definitely not nothing when the starting quarterback is not throwing. The question becomes now, will CJ Stroud throw tomorrow? Is the rest going to continue? And the other thing is the Texans aren't going to do us any favors. They don't have to put out injury reports right now. And I think DeMeco Ryans could work for the Astros, honestly. When it comes to the injuries, I think DeMeco Ryans he isn't even, maybe he lives next door to some Astros medical team or whatever, like how they handle injuries. Maybe DeMeco is just kind of cut from that cloth, because my goodness, like, he handles it just like them. See Christian Harris last year, and all the dialogue with that. As far as CJ playing basketball, I mean, the difference in shooting a basketball and throwing a football on your shoulder, I mean, just do the motion. Like, it's not even the same. You got to throw it sideways with the football. Basketball, you can use a lot of wrist. You can just raise the shoulder and use a lot of wrist. You're not really torquing it. I can't even throw a football at this point because of my arm and shoulder. But I can throw a basketball full court. So I don't think that's the same thing. I don't know. Like that was used kind of a couple of ways. I saw as, like an example that he's good to go. And then there was another portion that was like, well, why is he shooting baskets if he's not throwing a football? It's two completely different things. I mean, anyone that has shot a basketball and thrown a football should know that. I'm not going like touchdown Bundy, but that's just kind of common sense based on the actions of the whole thing.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Shout out to Austin Jack HDAV on the super chat. Good evening to you, mi amigo. He's doing his thing, probably riding a motorcycle somewhere. But we'll see what goes down with CJ Stroud. But I do think it's something to keep an eye on, and it's been a thing for a long time. I said this earlier today. If it had been an ankle, if it had been a foot, if it had been anything, even I know Aaron Wilson had the pectoral at first, and then that kind of transitioned into a shoulder and a number of descriptions of the shoulder. Even if it would have been any other body part, okay, we'll see, what goes on. But that little interesting, for sure. Space Age on D'Amico and the Astros, I guess, kind of vibe. Says can't even get a little transparency from this staff. SMH. I think the fans deserve that much at least. Just my 2 cents. Well, they're trying to protect players. I just don't know that you're really protecting the player. If you would have just come out and said, yeah, his shoulder's a little bit sore, we're going to figure it out. Like, is it going to, I think D'Amico has a strong element of keeping it real goes wrong when it comes to the players and the handling of the injuries. It's very, very Astros-like. We talked about it last year. Couple of my Christian Harris questions. D'Amico kind of joked, you're always asking about, well, I mean, I know he's hurt. And I'm giving you a chance to kind of lower the expectations, because all throughout the season last year, everybody just assumed that Christian Harris had like a rolled foot or something like that. And you could have lowered those expectations by saying something, and you did not do that. So is the CJ Stroud shoulder injury a big deal? I'm not saying it's a big deal. It's a deal, though. The nothing to see here crowd is it's a balance between meat riding or just being combative and defending anything that goes on in the organization. But if CJ was right at Ohio State and he actually does have,
then on top of that, God has blessed me with a supernatural healing of my shoulder.
then everything should be fine. If he has that supernatural healing, then everything will be fine. So we'll see what happens. But am I sitting here saying the sky is falling? No. But again, to go back to the original point, if the starting quarterback, this is for the rest of my life, if the starting quarterback doesn't throw into practice, it's going to be one of the main stories and something that we talk about. I'll let you decide whether it's a big deal or not a big deal. I'll give my opinion. You can give your opinion. But that is always going to be something that is going to be discussed. I don't know, with everything that we just laid out, everything we've talked about, I don't know how you can say it's just nothing. That's crazy. Because I think CJ Stroud, and I've actually put together, I did this on SNL, the 5 most important body parts in town. We'll get to that a little later on in the show. But yeah, it's absolutely something when the starting quarterback doesn't throw. If you don't think so, I think kind of like D'Amico with his injury reports, I think it's kind of keeping it real going wrong if you don't subscribe to that theory, or at least think it's a little something. Other news with the Texans today, and there were a lot of players around the NFL. A lot of players around there. Jimmy Crack Corn says, is their secretive behavior towards this team much different than others? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. There's some who are overly paranoid. New England used to be. But if you ever watch Sean McVay go up for a press conference, or even Sean Payton, they're giving updates immediately. So-and-so is not playing because he has an ankle, blah, blah, blah. You ask the question, a lot of times you get it. They're not going to have a guy rolling around in a boot for 2 months and then saying that he's day-to-day and he'll be back when he gets back, like Christian Harris last year. So, yes, that's they are a little bit more obnoxious than others. Space Age asking, how did shoulder pectoral get in the way of the start? What the hell was he doing? It was never a pectoral. Aaron Wilson reported pectoral and then changed it to shoulder. So I don't know how that happened. I don't know what the process was. But it was never a pectoral. So I don't know how pectoral came up. Unless, I mean, both reports were true, but there were multiple reports. H-Town Quan says, gotta remember that it's not just fans that are listening and watching. Too much information on injuries could cause opponents to target. Hopefully. See, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. That's not true. Because I'll just explain, because they have to tell what's hurt in season. Like in season, if CJ Stroud wasn't throwing, hey, it just like the Colts that we just mentioned. On Friday, he appeared on the injury report. DNP, did not practice, shoulder. So there's no secretive injuries in the NFL. I think a lot of that's gambling. I think that's a lot of that is like kind of having to be accountable and say what players are there, but that's not true. That's high school stuff. You have to put out an injury report. And when a guy's not playing and he's not close to being on the field, and you won't admit that he's not close to being on the field, like Christian Harris last year, all of a sudden, much like Kyle Tucker with the Astros, which is a popular topic now, fans start assuming that he's kind of half-assing, and that's where keeping it real goes wrong. But you don't say what the injury is they're going to target. That's old school Dick Butkus, black and white NFL films crap. So I don't think that's true, and that's not correct based on the information they actually have to release in season. We had a retirement today. There were a lot of retirements around the NFL. Was this one a big deal? Ronald Darby, who the Texans signed to compete for cornerback depth, he has informed the Texans that he is retiring. So pour one out for Ronald Darby. Very disappointing season last year for the Jags. 10-year NFL vets, Florida State national champion on the Jameis Winston squad. Super Bowl champ, I believe, with the Philadelphia Eagles. A nice career. And most NFL players don't have careers like the one that Ronald Darby had. When he signed with the Texans, I'll be honest, I didn't know how he would fit in, how he would look. I always call it the wash alert whenever, a 10+ year vet signs as kind of a depth guy, not what he once was. You look at the grades, which you always take with a grain of salt of PFF, and you kind of talk to people in Jacksonville. They felt like he didn't have much left in the tank, and I got to think he had some sort of grasp of that. Now I think he walks away with a few $100,000 for his troubles with the Texans, but he will not be on the team. And quite frankly, I don't think this retirement's that big of a deal. I don't think the Texans need to be working the cornerback market because of Ronald Darby. I don't know that Ronald Darby was even going to make this team. I mean, if you gave me a list of 5 guys that would be potential cuts, surprising cuts, Ronald Darby, if I was making the list, not if you gave it to me, Ronald Darby would be near the top of the list. Because Kamari Lassiter and Derek Stingley are your starting corners. The way that you play defense now with Jalen Petrie as the nickel corner, it's not just an adjustment at this point, because you have Jimmy Ward, assuming that he's on the team, and you've already paid him, and D'Amico says he wants him on the team. He's going to be backing up that role, and he's had success there. You also drafted Jalen Reed, who's going to do that. You traded up for Smith on day 2 of the draft, Jalen Smith, and the Jalen thing is going to get crazy. The Jalen and Jaden thing is going to be nuts in season. But you traded up for Smith on day 2 of the draft. who's kind of in that role. I mean, there's a chance Ronald Darby just saw what was in front of him and realized, man, I can't compete here. And quite frankly, my better days are behind me. I'm gonna get the pension. I'm gonna retire. Got a few $100,000 for even trying. So more power to him. But this is not a big deal. I don't think Ronald Darby was going to be a big part of things. And if you look at the snap counts last year when Petrie was healthy, and now you have the backups in his role, he was playing like 100% of the snaps. Like we would see Okudah active and he would play like 11% of the snaps. Ronald Darby's presence didn't stop them from bringing back Miles Bryant. It didn't stop them from making a draft trade and moving up. So I don't think the Ronald Darby thing is a big deal at all. I think it's a very, very small deal. I don't think they're shuffling. I don't think they're surprised. There's a chance that they just told him, hey, we're not, I don't think you're going to make this squad. And I don't know how he even fit into things. So we saw Okudah last year. We saw them bring him in. Wasn't beautiful. Wasn't a beautiful sight. I don't know that Darby would have been much better. If you ask people in Jacksonville, he was not. So that's not a big deal at all. The CJ Stroud shoulder thing, it's something, and it's going to be something to just at least look at sideways for the remainder of the season, maybe the remainder of his career, if it continues to just pop up sporadically throughout seasons. But Ronald Darby, not a big deal at all. Not even a little bit of a big deal at all. That didn't prevent them from adding depth. The way they play defense doesn't really matter. So no big deal there. Nothing to really see at all. I want to go back to CJ Stroud's willingness to play through shoulder pain, which we've seen for sure 2 out of the last 4 seasons that he's played football, and really the only 4 seasons that we've seen him in the national spotlight. We saw it year 1 at Ohio State. We saw it rookie year with the Texans. He only played 2 years at Ohio State, started 2 years. And then last year, assuming that when he said he was banged up, it was the shoulder, we've seen it 3 out of 4 years. I do wonder how the shoulder pain, if it does hang around, I do wonder how it's managed in comparison to what went down at Ohio State and what went down with the Texans last year and the year before, where CJ Stroud was playing through it, because you're about to have to make a huge investment in CJ Stroud. And CJ Stroud's, quite frankly, going to have to protect himself to the point where he gets that big payday that not just every quarterback, but every rookie desires, that second contract. And quite frankly, his is going to be one of the largest contracts that you can sign. The quarterback after the rookie deal, even if you're not elite, if you're on the edge of elite, you're going to get paid, you're going to get broke off. But while there has been a desire to play through shoulder pain, could there be kind of a different mindset for CJ Stroud now as he approaches that? And could that mindset also kind of blend with the teams, because they're going to be the one making this investment? Look, we can say what we want about the shoulder. Again, if you think it's a big deal, okay. If you don't think it's a big deal, okay. But the mismanagement of shoulders is something that a lot of times there's no circling back to it. Whenever you mismanage the shoulder, all bets are off. Whenever it's mismanaged, and especially at the quarterback position, surgeries are more popular, are more effective than ever, but they're also sometimes don't. There's no coming back from them. Andrew Luck's a prime example. Andrew Luck in 2016, he said he secretly injured his shoulder. And he left the game with an AC joint, with a sprained AC joint in his throwing shoulder, which is the exact same injury that CJ Stroud had in 2021. Luck retired a few years later. He had a number of shoulder injuries. He had a torn labrum in his throwing shoulder in 2015. He had the AC joint. So Andrew Luck he's always the tale of like quarterbacks and, what to mishandling of quarterbacks and organizational failure and not protecting them and all that. But when you start talking about the shoulder, you've really got to start managing it, especially when you're about to have to invest. And when you're CJ Stroud and you're trying to get that next contract, you've also got to err on the side of caution. So the shoulder thing is something to keep an eye on. How do they manage it? And how does he manage it? Because we've seen warning signs of it. And it's been around for a few years. Like it was always hyped up as, Andrew Luck's just playing banged up. Andrew Luck, the reports would come out, he had a problem with his shoulder in 2016. Like, you got to manage this shoulder fine. It's a very important it's an important thing to look out for. Drew Brees is another example. Drew Brees came back strong. And they actually managed his well. I know Nick Saban, when he was with the Dolphins, they passed on Drew Brees because they were worried about it, but he managed it well. He's very transparent, but you got to be extra to when it comes to the shoulder. And I think CJ Stroud's shoulder, it might be the most important body part in town. And this is a little bit of locker room top 5. The 5 most important body parts for the Texans this year. Number 1, CJ Stroud's shoulder. Need that. Not going anywhere without that shoulder. And it's just been lingering around, dangling a little bit the last few years. Number 2, Nick Caley's head. We remember, and this might be connected to CJ Stroud's shoulder. We might be playing the neck bone connected to the blah, blah bone.
Damn it, Bobby.
But Nick Caley's head, got to be better than Bobby Slowick. You got to protect your quarterback. Number 3, Will Anderson's ankle. Seems like Will Anderson's always missing games with the ankle. Big year for Will Anderson this year. Will Anderson's ankle. Number 3, Nico's hammy. God, always pulls it. And then number 5, I think it's Mixon's foot. Whatever he had a boot on. They need that for sure. So that's the top 5 most important body parts: Stroud's shoulder, Caley's head, Anderson's ankle, Nico's hamstring, and Mixon's foot. You need all of this as solid as possible, but none more important than the super healing gift from God, CJ Stroud's shoulder. They gotta make that work. He's got to make it work. They got to figure it out. Caley's head. Need Nick Caley to figure some stuff out. I thought it was interesting that people asked, the Nick Caley, the Nick Caley media session was interesting because, man, he doesn't say anything. I wasn't there for this. I was at the wedding, but I was scouting, and I was sitting there and I was like, man, I asked him a couple questions at his introductory press conference, and there really wasn't much. How are we going to, what is Nick Caley going to give us in season whenever he's questioned? So I just kind of want to visit this media availability with Nick Caley and just go into how he answers questions and do a little film study with the peeps here on a very, very slow June 2nd until tomorrow when they take the field. Let's hear from Nick Caley.
How's it going, guys?
How's it going, guys? Sean McVay, Jr.
How's it going? Yeah, I think everything, to answer your question, really it's not my stamp specifically. It's what suits the strength of the guys that we got. So I think we're in the discovery process through phase 2, and we get to work with them on the field. get an opportunity to see the different skill sets, the different routes, the different schemes that we could potentially deploy this year. So it's really an evolving process, and this is the time to really kind of put the rubber on the road and see what we can do and evolve from there. I do.
It's definitely your stamp, though. Let's be real. It is Nick Caley's stamp. Now, it might center around the players, but we're getting semantic. It's definitely his stamp.
I do. We're tracking. We're growing every day. We're, learning. There's mistakes and trials and errors, and we're growing and improving and eliminating repeated mistakes. The guys have a great attitude. They're working their tails off, and, I've been very pleased with everybody.
CJ Stroud, not too Saturday. You like it?
Yeah, they love the position. They take a lot of pride in what they do. Yeah, they love football.
What does the Nick Caley offense look like?
Well, it depends on the players we got, and that's not a cop-out. That's the reality of it. So it can evolve, be willing to change and do whatever we need to do that's necessary based on who we have and who we're playing. Whether that's, again, you want to get big in terms of multiple personnel or not, gap schemes or zone schemes, committing to more play action or not, that's going to really be dependent on, what your personnel dictates and who you have available. So again, that's the great part about this year is we get to do a lot of different things and really put a lot of guys in different positions to run certain routes, some of them some of these guys have never done anything, or certain routes that we have, and they might be just exclusively outside receivers that we're working inside and vice versa.
They're going to move these guys around a lot. Like, these receivers are going to be moved around a lot. There's going to be multiple slots. There's going to be a lot going on there. It's going to be, that sounds Rams-like. Kind of Patriots too, but that sounds Rams-like.
Versa. So it's a good opportunity just to see what these guys can do.
CJ said that he's going to have a little bit more on his plate at the quarterback position than maybe he'd had his first 2 years. What kind of goes into that, and what sort of things
Monday
maybe
through Friday
be on his plate that previously he hadn't?
Yeah, I think it's like anything else. The more you can do, the better off you're going to end up being. And he wants to have the ability to be able to have control. And when you're at that position, there's a lot of great value in being able to fix problems that come up or unscouted looks that come up. And it doesn't happen overnight. That's for sure. And it's repetition. It's comfort with the offense. He's working hard. He's done a good job, and we'll just keep growing that.
Nick, how long do you think being a first-round play caller, how much can you use that to your advantage at the start of the season before they finally get the play on you? Because everybody around you guys been a good coordinator to get a football in all quarters. How long do you think you have before you finally get enough out there so they can start?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I think that, again, it's like anything else. We're going to continue to build our scheme as we get into the season. The season's a long ways away from now. So all honestly we're focused on is trying to get better every single day, deploy the different schemes that we want to try to experiment with, see what fits us, and we'll see. I know this. We have a good staff. We have good players here. We have good guys that love football, and we're just trying to grow every day. I'm not worried about what's going to happen in September, honestly. I'm worried about just trying to get better every single day here.
You said it's going to take time for the offense to completely gel together.
Yep.
But in a short amount of time that you guys have been together, how have you felt about the gelling and meshing and chemistry?
Yeah, I feel really good about it. I do. We've got great character in this locker room in general, both sides of the ball, the kicking game. We've got good guys. They love football. And you guys have been around them a lot. Some of you guys that have been here, they got a smile on their face. They love to compete. And that's what you want to be around, is competitive guys that find joy in what they do. We have a staff full of guys like that, starting with our head coach, trickling down. And that's what makes it, fun to come to work. I feel, we have a great group of guys, and we're getting, a lot of stuff done. Yeah, he's working, and it's like anything else. There is an adaptation, but he's working. He's got a great attitude, a great way about him. Just really trying to get with Cole, Zach, the offensive line, the vets, and trying to refine his skills and learn the techniques that may have been foreign to him, coming from Minnesota to here. But it's like anything else. He's doing a good job. He's working hard.
OTAs are you going to use? OTAs and minicamp are you going to use to be able to watch what the offensive line can do and how you all are mixing and matching right now? But how much of that are you going to be able to use to solidify going into training camp?
Yeah, I think it's like anything else. I don't think anything's going to be solved here in the next 2 weeks, okay? But it is obviously a progression. There's things in this time of the year with not having pads on. We can't hit gap double teams. We're not going to come off the ball and capture zone combinations as much. When you get into training camp, a lot of those things come to life, which obviously carries over into the play action game. Your play passes on early downs and passing off picks and stuff like that. So it's a little bit more of a controlled environment. but we're certainly going to build off everything we do and continue to build up until the time we report back here.
Nick, obviously CJ's watching during throwing part of the practice today. Where is he physically? What are you asking of him right now?
Yeah, he's locked in every step of the way. No concerns whatsoever. I know D'Amico's already hit on this. Everybody's got a specific routine relative to their own routine, specific to whatever, through whether it's football, whether it's athletic training, et cetera. And he's doing a great job, and he's out here and he's working. He's a pro. He's a pro. He's highly competitive, and he's versatile. He really is. I mean, you talk about a guy that's steady every single day, and I've really enjoyed having the opportunity to be around him.
What's CJ able to take away when he's not under center during the throwing portions, and what is he missing out on during that time?
Yeah, well, it starts in the film room. It starts in the meeting and the preparation, going into it and trying to prepare and learn the details and the nuances of everything we're doing. You get mental reps out here. I mean, being out here, he's involved in all the communication. He's tapped in. He's into it. So I've been very pleased when he's out here. Yeah, the fun part for me, to be honest with you, is establishing a foundation, which we talked about in phase one, just the terminology, the nomenclature, the language, okay, getting past that barrier. And, there is some same as the terminology, the nomenclature, the language, okay, getting past that barrier. And, there is some same as some of the verbiage. And then the second thing I would say is establishing the fundamentals, how we want to hit blocks, how we want to run routes, okay, what the routes are called. And I would say the third element of that, to piggyback off that, is really teaching the details of it, specifically how you want to run routes. What are the concepts? What are the details of the concepts, et cetera? What's the intent of the play? And I think that's an important part. Like, we don't just call plays to call plays. There's an intentionality of why we're calling every single play for specific reasons. And I think that this is a great opportunity to really establish that foundation and move forward with that.
Well, definition of nomenclature, as you might not use the word.
Yes. It's an extent. Everybody will block. We're going to be committed to that in the run game. That's part of who we are. That's toughness. That's physicality. I think that's a non-negotiable. Period. So.
Consistently talked about looking for the right offensive lineman who has the right mindset. But what does that mindset look like to you?
Yeah, consistency, dependability, toughness, the ability to grow and take coaching. Those are the most important things. Because if you have guys that care, if you have guys that have capacity, which we do, okay, and you have guys that work hard and take coaching, you're going to move the needle and you're going to improve.
Nick, you have to think about having more for the next world. Yep. How do you find that sweet spot of not adding too much?
Yeah, that's the job of us as coaches too, is to assess where we're at, and again, building it. There's not a rush to throw everything at it. There is a progression to how we teach everything that we do from start to finish, and we assess that as a staff and we move forward.
Take a couple more, guys.
Receivers and teammates. What did they show you so far? What are some of the traits you see individually?
Yeah, I mean, they're competitive. They're versatile. They stay grounded through the catch. They compete. They're students of the game. They're taking notes. I mean, they're great people, and they love football. And, it's been fun for all of us, for all the different positions, to go out there and get an opportunity to see, what all these guys can do.
I know you like tight ends, but what are you saying from K's coach?
Yeah, he's tough. And, I mean, you turn on the tape. I think you guys have all seen it. I mean, he plays with his hair on fire, and there's no substitute for that. And I appreciate the way he plays the game. I've had a lot of respect for him dating back to his days at Ohio State.
There's a lot of new pieces to new line to new piece of receiver. It's kind of that meshing process of trying to get everybody on the same page together.
Yeah, just clarity and communication, building a foundation, encouraging them to ask why. There's no questions that, should be left at the table. If you got a question, you need to know, ask. And they've done a great job of that. We got really, really good coaching staff of really good teachers and really good people. And I think understanding that we are in this together. This isn't coaches play.
That's my line.
We're Texans.
That's my line,
and
bro.
This is what we're going to do, and just keep moving the needle day by day and just try to stack days, to be honest with you. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
All right, there you go. That's Nick Caley, the new OC for your Houston Texans. Nomenclature, dude. That's crazy. So I mean, we don't know what this offense is. He might not know what the offense is. He's going to say game plan offense. O'Brien said it. Slowick kind of said it. The beauty of getting to know a new offensive coordinator and kind of seeing what he's about is, and it can be the ugly. So it can actually turn into the ass ugly, which is what we saw the last couple of years. What looked great early on wasn't great late. There's no it's just like a player, but it's probably even more so with an offensive coordinator, because some of them start off hot, but then as soon as they have to make an adjustment from week to week, they're screwed. Whenever they don't have this player, they're screwed. Whenever they meet a team for the second time, they're screwed. Some thrive in that situation. And I mean, some of the guys that he's worked for have thrived in that situation. Tom Brady and Josh McDaniels, obviously as a combination, they thrived. Sean McVay, he kind of thrives in those types of situations. So he's obviously learned from the right guys, but as far as like some sort of clarity, like I keep saying this entire offseason, it's kind of one of the themes is that what is a Nick Caley offense is the number one question that we have. It's not going to be answered. It's not going to be answered this year. Like, unless there's just some sort of revolutionary like start, even more so than Bobby Slowick, it's not going to be answered. But we're going to learn more and more about it. And I do think that the best thing that has happened since Nick Caley has gotten here, I think the number one thing that they have done since he got here, and it's really despite the efforts of Nick Caserio to make a trade with the New England Patriots, is they've improved this wide receiver room significantly. This wide receiver room at the end of last season, I'm not talking about the start of last season. At the end of last season is the worst wide receiver room in the league. You had one of the best receivers in Nico Collins, but outside of that, you didn't have much. Like you could have made a case that John Mechie and Xavier Hutchinson were your number 2 and 3. That's not good. That's actually really, really bad. So the one thing that they have done is they have made this wide receiver room really, really good. And I think that the way that he speaks, the guys that he worked under, he's done a hell of a job, or they've done a hell of a job as an organization, whether it's luck or not. The result is they've done a good job, at least on paper, which might not mean shit, but they've done a good job of improving this wide receiver group. You feel good about it. The offensive line, next question. To quote Nico Collins' agent, Drew Rosenhaus. Next question. But yeah, I think that the wide receiver group looks good. The running back depth, not great. Tight end kind of looks a little bit the same. Yeah, it looks the same. But it seems like he's not going to put up with crap. Like if Dalton Schultz is blocking like that, like if Nick Caley, and this is the other thing we don't know, does he practice what he preaches? And it seems like the preaching is going to be limited. You're going to have to kind of pry for it a little bit, but if he practices what he preaches, and one of the times that he was just most passionate there was when he said it's a non-negotiable to block. Dalton Schultz isn't going to be on the field this year very much if he's going to put out what he put out last year. Now, the other thing is that he's probably not going to be in that position if Nick Caley knows what the hell he's doing. And the other question is, was Dalton Schultz hurt last year? I don't know. Dalton Schultz is on wash alert this year. We're going to have to see what Dalton Schultz looks like when he bounces back. But I do wonder if there was some sort of injury for Dalton Schultz, given the fact that he's doing side field work right now, and we're not really seeing a ton of him. So we'll just keep an eye on that. But that's something to keep an eye on. Dalton Schultz is not a very popular guy around here at all. Nux asks a question, and I look like Wilson from Home Improvement. I don't think so, Tim. I'll minimize it because it's a damn essay. Howdy ho, neighbor. Let me see if I can lower that. Yeah, we'll go minimal here. All right. Knuckles says, you're okay with the depth at corner. If a starter gets hurt or simultaneously hurt, feels like we'd be in the same position as last year. Thought Darby would have been a decent pickup. One more vet. Darby doesn't have much left, but they they got Jalen Smith from USC, who they liked enough to trade up. Now, how is that going to work? I don't know. We'll have to see what it looks like. But I mean, they did bring in Jalen Smith. But yeah, obviously, if you have Lassiter, my whole thing with Darby is I don't know that he's much better than what they had last year. I don't know that he's much better than Okudah at this point. Like, Jacksonville fans don't think so. He doesn't seem to think so. So it's not, I'm not sitting here like if they would have brought in Stephon Gilmore or something like that, I wouldn't be saying that. But Stephon Gilmore is not gonna sit there and be a backup. And even if you are the third corner, how much are you going to play on this team? I think they like Smith. I think Miles Bryant's all right. And I think they like the defense and the style that they play, in which they have multiple guys in that Petrie role now. So that's the way they're going to lean on defense. But yeah, obviously, if someone gets hurt, that completely changes everything. But that's not really the way to look at it. Because quite frankly, I don't know how I feel about Ronald Darby being on an island with Brian Thomas or Travis Hunter or something like that. So, yeah, that's the whole thing. I don't feel a lot about Ronald Darby. I don't know how good he is. Yeah, Dalton's getting cut after this year. This is the last year of his deal. He's basically in a contract year. That's one of those fake money contracts that Dalton Schultz is playing on. So we'll keep an eye on that. He's damn sure not going to be able to play the way that he did last year. That's for damn sure. At least if Nick Caley is what he says he is. I have no reason not to believe him quite yet. I don't know if I believe him when he says nothing to see here with CJ Stroud, but it's neither here nor there. But we got a little OTA action tomorrow. And we'll see how it goes. And don't forget the top 5 most important body parts. Stroud's shoulder, Caley's head, Will Anderson's ankle, Nico's hamstring, and Mixon's foot. By the way, we'll see what happens with the Mixon foot and whatever that was, that he was in a boot or whatever. We'll get an idea of that. We also heard in the Nick Caley press conference, we heard the voice, the Texans PR guy, Everett Greelings. He's going to the Titans. He's going to work for Amy Adams Stank. He's going to be their head of media relations. How about that? He was, I think, second in the chain of command here, below Omar. Always really, really fair guy. Did a good job of the national stuff. It was inevitable that he was going to run a media relations, NFL media relations eventually. Quite frankly, I didn't know it was going to be this soon. I do think my boy Everett might have benefited from the stanky one, Amy Adams Stank, and her desire to take things from Houston. So shout out to Everett going to do his thing. I'm sure the Texans will adjust accordingly and figure it out. But one of the media relations guys for the Texans, he is going to be the head of the stanky ones. Media relations. And I'm sure that as he is with the media relations, I'm sure he'll handle their coaching search very well next year or the year after. And probably when they're looking for a new quarterback and they have the first pick in the draft 2 years from now, I know he's going to handle that as well. So best of luck to Everett. You're going to have some exciting opportunities, probably multiple coaching searches the first 5 years, we'd say, and then first pick in the draft. So we'll see how that whole thing goes. Shout out to everyone for coming through. Tomorrow going to be an active day. SNL at 4. And we'll be right here again at 10:30. The shows are going to get up to an hour once the season begins and things kick out. So don't you worry about that. And I appreciate everyone for rolling through. Subscribe, like, right along. Always remember, when it comes to this text and stuff, no matter what body part you feel is most important or how important you think CJ Stroud's shoulder injury is, we're all in it together. Appreciate you.
Yeah, we top 2 and we not too plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number 1. You don't need to try your luck.